I always believed my life was finally falling into place. At 29, living in Chicago, working as a project manager for a mid-sized tech firm, and dating a woman everyone admired, I thought I was on a straight path toward marriage. Emily Carter was intelligent, graceful, and came from a well-connected family in the suburbs of Illinois. To the outside world, we were the perfect American couple. Sunday brunches, weekend road trips, and quiet talks about buying a house someday. The engagement was supposed to happen in 2 weeks. The ring was already hidden in my apartment drawer, tucked inside a small velvet box beneath old tax documents. I had planned everything carefully. Lake Michigan sunset, a quiet moment where she'd smile and say yes. I replayed that future scene in my head every night. But Emily ruined all of it with one request. It happened on a Thursday evening. Rain streaked down the apartment windows, blurring the city lights into long glowing lines. Emily sat on my couch, legs crossed, her fingers nervously twisting the silver bracelet I'd gifted her on our first anniversary. She wasn't looking at me. That alone should have warned me. "Ryan," she said softly, "there's something I need to ask you." Her tone wasn't playful. It wasn't loving. It was cautious, calculated. I muted the TV and turned toward her. "Sure. What's wrong?" She inhaled deeply, like someone preparing to confess a crime. "I need you to do something for me," she said. "And you can't ask too many questions." My stomach tightened. Emily finally met my eyes. There was fear there, but also something else. Guilt. "I want you to spy on someone." I laughed at first, convinced she was joking. "Spy? Like Instagram stalking?" "No," she said immediately. "In real life." The laughter died in my throat. She leaned forward, lowering her voice even though we were alone. "There's a guy from my past. His name is Daniel Brooks. I need to know what he's doing, who he's seeing, and whether he still talks about me." The name hit me harder than I expected. "Your ex?" I asked. She shook her head quickly. "Not exactly." That answer made things worse. Emily explained that Daniel was her college crush, the one she never dated but never truly forgot. They'd gone to university in Boston, studied in the same department, spent long nights together preparing for exams. She claimed nothing physical ever happened, yet her voice trembled as she spoke his name. "He moved to Chicago last year," she continued. "We ran into each other at a networking event. Since then, I can't get him out of my head. I felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs." "And you want me to spy on him?" I asked slowly. She nodded. "I need closure," she said. "Before we get engaged, I need to know if what I feel is real, or just unresolved curiosity." I stood up, pacing the room. Every instinct screamed walk away, but love makes people stupid. Loyal. Blind. "What exactly do you want me to do?" I asked. Her shoulders relaxed slightly, as if she'd been waiting for that question. "He works at a co-working space downtown. I want you to casually observe him. See who he talks to, who he spends time with. Especially women." "Emily," I said sharply, "this is insane." "I know," she whispered. "But I trust you. You're calm. You won't do anything reckless." The irony almost made me laugh. She reached for my hand. "Please. After this, we can move forward without doubts. I promise." That night, after she left, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every word. My fiancée, the woman I was about to propose to, was asking me to spy on the man she might still be in love with. Yet somehow, the next morning, I agreed. The co-working space sat near River North, a glass building buzzing with freelancers and startups. I dressed casually, jeans, hoodie, baseball cap, telling myself I was just there to work remotely. Daniel Brooks wasn't hard to spot. Tall, relaxed posture, dark hair slightly messy in that effortless way. He laughed easily, the kind of laugh that pulled attention without trying. Watching him felt uncomfortable, like staring at a mirror reflecting everything I wasn't. Then I noticed her. A woman sat across from Daniel, laptop open, coffee in hand. She looked nothing like Emily. Softer features, warm eyes, a quiet confidence. She laughed at something Daniel said and gently shoved his shoulder. My chest tightened, not with jealousy but curiosity. Later, when Daniel stepped away, she noticed me struggling with the coffee machine. "First time here?" she asked, smiling. "Yeah," I replied. "I think it's winning." She laughed. "I'm Lena." That name would change everything. We talked briefly, small things. Work. Chicago weather. Bad coffee. I learned she was a freelance graphic designer, recently moved from Seattle, and, almost casually, she mentioned her brother. Daniel basically lives here, she said, rolling her eyes affectionately. I swear this place is his second home. Brother. My heart skipped. As she walked away, I realized the truth with chilling clarity. The woman I'd just spoken to, the one whose smile felt honest and unguarded, was Daniel's sister. And at that moment, standing there with a lukewarm coffee and a fiancé who didn't love me the way I loved her, I felt the ground beneath my future begin to crack. I didn't know it yet, but agreeing to Emily's request had already set me on a path that would destroy my engagement and lead me straight into something far more real. Chapter 2. Following her crush into a dangerous secret. I told myself I was done after that first day. That spying once was enough. That I'd seen what Emily wanted me to see. Daniel Brooks was doing fine, surrounded by people, clearly not waiting around for her. Any sane man would have stopped there, gone home, confronted his fiancée, and demanded the truth. But I wasn't sane anymore. I was curious. And curiosity, I would soon learn, was far more dangerous than jealousy. Emily called me that night. So, she asked, trying and failing to sound casual. Did you see him? I hesitated. Yes. Silence hung between us. Well, she pushed. Was he with anyone? I thought of Lena's smile. Her laugh. The warmth that felt painfully real compared to Emily's controlled tone. He talks to a lot of people, I said carefully. Nothing unusual. Emily exhaled in relief. Good. That's good. Not thank you. Not I'm sorry. Just relief. Can you keep watching? She added. Just a little longer. That was the moment I should have ended everything. Instead, I said, okay. Over the next week, I followed Daniel's routine more closely. I learned his patterns the way predators do, not because I wanted to hurt him, but because my life had quietly turned into something I no longer recognized. Daniel arrived at the co-working space around 9:30 every morning, always with black coffee, never sugar. He worked intensely until noon, then usually left for lunch alone. Except on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, he met someone. The first time I followed him, I stayed a full block behind, feeling ridiculous and ashamed. He walked confidently through River North, turned onto a quieter street, and entered a small, rundown diner squeezed between a pawn shop and a closed-down travel agency. This wasn't a place for business lunches. Through the diner's front window, I watched him sit across from a man I didn't recognize. The man was older, late 40s maybe, thick beard, rough hands, the kind of guy who looked like he'd lived too many hard years. They didn't smile. They leaned in close. Spoke quietly. Daniel slid something across the table, a folded envelope. My pulse spiked. What the hell are you involved in? I wondered. I snapped a photo with my phone before I could talk myself out of it. That night, Emily called again. He's still single? She asked. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. He's complicated, I replied. What does that mean? She asked sharply. It means you don't know him the way you think you do. Her voice turned cold. Ryan, don't start reading into things. Just tell me what I asked. I stared at the photo on my phone. He's hiding something, I said. Emily went quiet. Then, softly, everyone hides something. That answer sent a chill down my spine. The second Wednesday, I followed Daniel again, this time closer. He met the same man. Same diner. Same tense body language. But this time, something went wrong. I was walking past the diner when voices suddenly rose. Angry. Urgent. The door flew open, and the bearded man stormed out, nearly colliding with me. His eyes locked onto mine for a split second, sharp, suspicious. Daniel followed him outside. I told you, Daniel hissed. I need more time. You said that last month, the man snapped. People don't like waiting. Tell them to back off, Daniel replied. This isn't what you think. The man laughed bitterly. It never is. He walked away, leaving Daniel standing there, fists clenched. I ducked behind a parked car, heart racing. This wasn't some harmless secret. Whatever Daniel was involved in had teeth. That evening, I ran into Lena again. Not on purpose. I'd gone back to the co-working space, pretending to work while replaying the argument in my head. Lena sat down across from me, holding 2 cups of coffee. You look like you need this, she said, sliding one toward me. I accepted it without thinking. Is it that obvious? She smiled gently. Only to people who pay attention. There was something about her presence that made my shoulders relax. No hidden agenda. No manipulation. We talked longer this time. About work. About moving to Chicago. About family. Daniel's always been secretive, she said suddenly, staring into her coffee. Ever since Boston. My heart skipped. What do you mean? She hesitated. He got mixed up with some people back then. Nothing illegal, at least I don't think so. But it scared him. Do you know who they are? I asked carefully. She shook her head. He won't tell me. Just says it's temporary. Temporary. That word again. Before I could stop myself, I asked, has he ever mentioned Emily Carter? Lena looked up sharply. Emily? My throat went dry. You know her? Lena's expression changed, confused, then thoughtful. Yeah, she said slowly. Daniel mentioned an Emily once. Said she was the one thing he regretted never pursuing. The room felt like it tilted. She's engaged now, Lena added. Or was planning to be. I forced a smile. Funny how life works. That night, I confronted Emily. I showed her the photo. The diner. The envelope. What is he involved in? I demanded. And don't tell me you don't know. Her face drained of color. You weren't supposed to dig that deep, she whispered. My hands shook. So you do know. She sat down slowly, like her legs had given out. Daniel's father was connected to a private investment group, she said. Off-the-books funding. Gray area stuff. Daniel inherited responsibilities when his father passed. Responsibilities for what? I asked. She swallowed. Money movement. Covering losses. Fixing mistakes. I stared at her. And you still wanted him? Her silence answered everything. I needed to know if he'd cleaned himself up, she said finally. If he was safe. If I could trust him. And me? I asked quietly. Was I ever more than your backup plan? She looked away. That was all the answer I needed. As I left her apartment that night, engagement ring still hidden in my drawer, I realized something terrifyingly clear. I wasn't just following Daniel anymore. I was following the truth, into something dangerous, something messy, something that would burn everything fake in my life to the ground. And somehow, the only place that felt safe was with the one person I wasn't supposed to get close to at all. Daniel's sister. After that night, nothing felt stable anymore. Emily stopped calling as often. When she did, her voice sounded distant, distracted, like she was already somewhere else in her mind. I didn't ask about Daniel again, and she didn't push me to spy further. It was as if an unspoken agreement had formed between us. We both knew the engagement was dying, and neither of us had the courage to say it out loud. So I buried myself in work. Or at least, that's what I told myself. The truth was, I kept finding reasons to go back to the co-working space. At first, I justified it logically. It was closer to my office. Better Wi-Fi. Quieter than cafes. But every time the elevator doors opened onto that floor, my eyes searched for the same two people. Daniel and Lena. Daniel I could handle. Lena was different. I saw her again on a Friday afternoon. She was standing near the large windows, sunlight spilling across her hair as she adjusted something on her tablet. She looked focused, calm, completely unaware of the chaos her family had injected into my life. Hey, she said when she noticed me. Coffee machine survivor. I smiled despite myself. Barely. She laughed, and that laugh did something unsettling to me. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was genuine, unguarded in a way I hadn't felt around Emily in months. You working late? She asked. Trying to, I replied. You? Same. Deadlines don't care about feelings, she said, rolling her eyes. That sentence hit harder than it should have. We ended up sitting together again. Not facing each other like before, but side by side, quietly working. No pressure. No awkward small talk. Just a comfortable silence that made time pass faster than it should have. After about an hour, she closed her laptop. I'm starving, she announced. Want to grab something? There's a food truck park a few blocks away. Every rational part of my brain screamed no. This was Daniel's sister. The center of a mess I was already drowning in. Getting closer to her was a bad idea, morally, emotionally, strategically. Sure, I heard myself say. The food trucks were lined up along a converted parking lot, lights strung overhead, music playing softly from somewhere. It felt very Chicago, casual, alive, and perfect. We grabbed tacos and sat at a metal picnic table. So, Lena said, you never told me what you do. I manage tech projects, I replied, which mostly means translating chaos into emails. She laughed again. That sounds exhausting. It is, but it pays the rent. She nodded thoughtfully. I like freelancing because I don't answer to anyone. Downside is, I answer to everyone. There was a brief pause before she added, Daniel worries about me too much. I stiffened slightly. He seems protective. That's one word for it, she said. He's been like that since our dad died. I didn't push. She didn't elaborate. Instead, she asked, "What about you? Anyone waiting at home?" The question was innocent. The answer wasn't. "I'm engaged," I said quietly. She stopped chewing. "Oh," she said. "I'm sorry, congrats." I didn't know. "It's complicated," I added before I could stop myself. Her eyes softened, not prying, not judging. Complicated relationships usually are. We finished eating in a thoughtful silence. As we stood to leave, my phone buzzed. "Emily." I didn't answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lena's voice kept replaying in my head. Not flirtatious, not seductive, just real. I compared that to Emily's guarded tones, the secrets, the manipulation disguised as trust. Around 2 a.m., I finally checked my phone. 3 missed calls. 1 text. "We need to talk. Tomorrow." I already knew what that meant. The next morning, Emily came over. She looked tired. Not emotionally, strategically. Like someone who had been weighing options all night. "We shouldn't get married," she said without preamble. The words landed softer than I expected. I nodded. "I know." She looked surprised. "That's it. What did you expect?" I asked. "An argument?" "Begging." Her jaw tightened. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I believe you," I said. "But you did anyway." She looked around my apartment, eyes lingering where she knew the ring was hidden. "I loved you," she said. "Maybe," I replied. "But not enough to choose me." She didn't deny it. When she left, the apartment felt strangely lighter, like something heavy had finally been removed from the air. I didn't plan to see Lena that weekend. It just happened. I was walking along the Chicago River Walk, trying to clear my head, when I heard my name. "Ryan." She stood there in jeans and a hoodie, hair pulled back, holding a paper bag. "Hey," she said. "What are the odds?" "Apparently high," I replied. She hesitated. "Want to walk?" We did. The city moved around us. Tour boats, joggers, couples taking photos. But for some reason, it felt like we were in our own quiet bubble. "You look different today," she said after a while. "Good different or bad different?" "Honest different." I exhaled. "The engagement's off." She stopped walking. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "It's okay," I replied. "It should have happened sooner." She studied my face, then nodded. Sometimes endings are just delayed beginnings. That sentence stayed with me. We sat on a bench overlooking the water. Lena played with the edge of the paper bag. "I was bringing lunch to Daniel," she said. "But he canceled. Work stuff." I thought of the diner. The envelope. The angry man. "Does he seem stressed lately?" I asked. She gave a small, sad smile. "When is he not?" There was a pause. Then she said, "Can I be honest with you?" "Always." "I don't think Daniel is a bad person," she said. "But I think he's stuck in something that won't let him move forward. And anyone who gets close to him gets pulled in." Her words felt like a warning. Or a confession. "I don't want that for you," she added. I looked at her then, really looked at her. For the first time, I realized something dangerous. I didn't just like Lena. I trusted her. "I won't pretend I don't feel something," I said quietly. "But I don't want to hurt you, or your brother." She met my gaze. Life doesn't wait for perfect timing. The silence between us grew heavy, not awkward, but charged. When she stood up, she extended her hand. "Friends," she said. "For now." I took it. For now. As we walked away in opposite directions, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Following Emily's request had cost me my engagement. But meeting Lena, truly meeting her, had opened a door I wasn't sure I had the strength to close. And somewhere in the shadows of Chicago, Daniel's dangerous secret was still unfolding, pulling all of us closer to a collision none of us were ready for. Friends. For now. Those words echoed in my head for days. I tried to live inside them, to keep my distance, to return to normal, to pretend my life hadn't quietly split into a before and after. I told myself that ending the engagement was enough chaos for one season. That getting emotionally involved with Lena, especially given everything surrounding Daniel, would only make things worse. But restraint is easy in theory. In reality, desire doesn't announce itself loudly. It creeps in through shared moments, small confidences, and the comfort of being understood without explanation. Lena and I kept running into each other. Sometimes at the co-working space. Sometimes around the neighborhood, like the city itself was nudging us closer. Our conversations stayed careful. Safe topics, professional frustrations, harmless jokes. But beneath all of it, there was an unspoken awareness, a tension that never fully relaxed. One evening, the building lost power. The co-working space fell into darkness, punctuated by groans and nervous laughter. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing the room in a dim orange glow. "Well," Lena said beside me, "guest productivity is officially canceled." I smiled. "Best news I've heard all day." We gathered our things and stepped outside into the cool Chicago night. The streets shimmered from earlier rain, neon reflections stretching across the pavement. "I was going to cook dinner," she said casually. "But my stove's electric." The invitation hung in the air. "I know a place still open," I replied. The diner wasn't the same one Daniel met his contact at, but the similarity wasn't lost on me. Inside, the hum of conversation and clinking dishes felt grounding. Normal. The kind of place where people lived uncomplicated lives. We slid into a booth. "So," Lena said, stirring her tea, "how are you really holding up?" I considered lying. "I feel untethered," I admitted. "Like I followed someone else's map for so long, I forgot how to read my own." She nodded slowly. "That's how Daniel looked when we moved here." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "He said Chicago was a fresh start," she replied. "But it always felt like he was running towards something, not away from it." My loyalty to Emily had already collapsed. Now, my loyalty to Daniel, someone I barely knew, felt equally fragile. "Lena," I said carefully, "if there was something dangerous going on in your brother's life, would you want to know?" Her fingers tightened around the cup. "Is this about Emily?" she asked quietly. I didn't deny it. She sighed. "I thought so." That was the first time her composure cracked. "She hurt him," Lena said. "Or at least she left a scar. Daniel never talks about her, but when he does, it's like reopening something that never healed." The guilt twisted in my chest. "I didn't mean to get involved," I said. "But I already am." She looked up at me then, eyes searching. "So am I." Things changed after that night. Not dramatically. Not all at once. Just closer. We started texting, sharing music, sending each other stupid memes in the middle of stressful workdays. It felt harmless, until it didn't. One Friday, Lena asked me to help her move some equipment to her apartment. Daniel wasn't there. That alone felt like crossing a line. Her place was small but warm, filled with plants and sketches pinned to the walls. It felt lived in a way Emily's pristine apartment never had. "Sorry about the mess," Lena said, brushing past me. "It feels human," I replied. She smiled. As we worked, our hands brushed accidentally, once, twice. Each time, a spark lingered a second longer than it should have. When we finished, we sat on the floor, backs against the couch, catching our breath. "Ryan," she said softly, "we should talk." My heart pounded. "About what?" "About this," she said, gesturing between us. "Because pretending it's not here doesn't make it disappear." I turned toward her. "You said friends," I reminded her. "And you said for now," she replied. The room felt suddenly smaller. "I don't want to betray my brother," she said. "And I don't want to be a rebound." "You're neither," I said immediately. "This isn't about replacing anyone." She studied my face, then asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Do you still love Emily?" The answer came without hesitation. "No." The truth of it surprised me. Lena closed her eyes briefly, like she was bracing herself. When she opened them, she leaned in. The kiss was gentle at first, hesitant, almost cautious. But it carried weeks of restraint, honesty, and something dangerously close to relief. For a moment, everything else disappeared. Then she pulled back. "This changes things," she whispered. "Yes," I agreed. "It does." Daniel found out sooner than either of us expected. Not about the kiss. About me. He confronted me at the co-working space 2 days later, eyes sharp, posture tense. "You've been following me," he said flatly. My stomach dropped. "I didn't mean." "Don't," he snapped. "Just don't lie." People around us pretended not to listen. "I know about Emily," he continued. "And I know you didn't just run into my sister." I clenched my fists. "I never wanted to hurt you," I said. "Or her." Daniel leaned in, voice low. "You already have." He straightened, then added, "Whatever you think you're doing, stop. Because you have no idea what you're stepping into." He walked away, leaving a trail of unease behind him. That night, Lena called me. "Daniel knows," she said. "I know." Silence. "He warned me to stay away from you," she admitted. And And I told him I'm tired of living my life according to his fears. My chest tightened. Lena, I don't need you to save me, she said firmly. I need you to be honest. I want you, I said. But I won't drag you into danger. She exhaled softly. Then don't leave me in the dark. As the call ended, I realized the line had already been crossed. Between loyalty and desire. Between safety and truth. And whatever secret Daniel was hiding, it was no longer just his. Once a line is crossed, there's no unseeing what lies on the other side. After Daniel's warning, the city felt different to me. Less like a backdrop and more like a maze filled with doors I wasn't supposed to open. Every sound seemed sharper, every shadow heavier. I kept expecting consequences to arrive unannounced, like a knock in the middle of the night. Lena felt it too. We didn't meet as openly after that. Our messages turned careful, coded. Not because we were ashamed, but because instinct told us someone was watching. Daniel had retreated into himself, vanishing for hours at a time, sometimes entire days. When Lena asked where he went, he gave the same answer every time. Handling things. That phrase had begun to rot. The truth began unraveling on a Tuesday morning. I was at my apartment, half focused on work, when my phone buzzed with a notification from an unfamiliar number. Unknown, stop following Daniel. You're not as invisible as you think. My blood ran cold. I typed back before logic could stop me. Me, who is this? 3 dots appeared, then vanished. No reply. I called Lena immediately. Has Daniel mentioned anything strange? I asked the moment she picked up. Her voice sounded tight. He didn't come home last night. My chest tightened. That's not normal? No, she whispered. Not anymore. By evening, Daniel still hadn't returned. Lena insisted on filing a missing person report, but something stopped her. Fear, maybe, or the instinct that official attention would make things worse. We met at her apartment instead. She paced the room while I sat on the edge of the couch, phone in my hand like it might explode. I knew this would happen, she said. I knew whatever he was mixed up in would catch up to him. Lena, I said gently, you don't know that. She stopped pacing and looked at me, eyes shining with unshed tears. Then why do I feel like this is my fault? Before I could answer, there was a knock at the door. We froze. Another knock, harder. I stood up slowly and moved toward the door. Ryan, Lena whispered, wait. But it was too late. I opened it. Daniel stood there. He looked exhausted. Not physically, spiritually. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw tight like he'd been clenching it for hours. He pushed past me without a word. Lena rushed to him. Where have you been? Daniel looked at her, then at me. And something in his expression shifted, like he'd finally accepted there was no keeping things buried. We need to talk, he said. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a glass of water he hadn't touched. I never wanted you involved, he said, staring at the surface. Either of you. Then why is someone threatening Ryan? Lena snapped. That got his attention. He looked up sharply. What threat? I showed him the message. The moment he read it, his face drained of color. Damn it, he muttered. So it's real, Lena said. All of it. Daniel leaned back, rubbing his face. My father wasn't just connected to some investment group, he began. He helped run it. I felt a chill spread through me. It wasn't illegal in the beginning, Daniel continued. Private capital, offshore accounts, risk management for people who couldn't afford mistakes going public. But it turned illegal, Lena said flatly. Daniel nodded. After he died, people expected me to step in. I didn't have a choice, not without consequences. Like what? I asked. Daniel met my eyes. Like debts that don't stay financial. Silence settled heavily in the room. I've been trying to get out, Daniel said. Slow truth. Clean exits. But they don't want me to leave. And Emily? Lena asked quietly. Daniel's jaw tightened. She knew part of it, he admitted. Enough to be dangerous. I swallowed hard. She reached out when she heard I was in Chicago, he continued. Said she needed closure. Said she wanted to help. Lena scoffed. She wanted insurance. Daniel didn't argue. She asked if I was still useful, he said bitterly. That's when I cut contact. My mind raced. She used me, I said quietly, to check if you were safe or valuable. Daniel nodded grimly. And now they think you're involved, he added. Which is why you got that message. Lena stood abruptly. This ends now. Daniel looked at her sharply. You don't understand. No, she interrupted. You don't. I'm done protecting your secrets while you put everyone in danger. She turned to me. Ryan, if staying near me puts you at risk. I'm not leaving, I said without hesitation. Daniel watched us, something like guilt and relief warring in his expression. There's one more thing, he said. The room seemed to hold its breath. They're planning to move money next week, he continued. A final transfer. After that, they won't need me anymore. And you think they'll let you walk away? I asked. Daniel shook his head. No, he said. I think they'll clean up loose ends. That night, the truth fully exposed itself. Emily wasn't just confused about her feelings. She was calculating. Daniel wasn't just secretive. He was trapped. And Lena and I weren't just crossing emotional lines. We were standing in the blast radius of something much bigger than us. As I left Lena's apartment in the early hours of the morning, I realized something chillingly clear. The engagement hadn't been the real breaking point. The truth was. And once exposed, it demanded a price from everyone involved. The city didn't sleep that week. Neither did we. Every passing siren made my chest tighten. Every unknown number felt like a threat. Daniel moved through his days like a man already saying goodbye to parts of himself, while Lena tried to stay strong, even as fear hollowed her eyes. The final transfer was scheduled for Friday night. Daniel told us everything he knew, where it would happen, who would be there, and what it meant. A private office near the industrial edge of the city. No police. No witnesses. No second chances. They won't hurt Lena, Daniel said. She's not part of this. That's not a promise, I replied. He didn't disagree. On Friday evening, Daniel left first. Lena stood by the window, watching his car disappear into the darkness. He shouldn't go alone, she said. I know, I replied. She turned to me, eyes steady despite the fear. If he doesn't come back. I stepped closer, taking her hands. Then we make sure this ends tonight. She searched my face, then nodded. 2 hours later, Daniel texted. They changed the location. My phone buzzed again. Warehouse near South Branch. I'm already inside. A third message followed almost immediately. If something goes wrong, take Lena and leave. Lena read the messages over my shoulder. No, she said firmly. We're not running. We didn't plan to be heroes. We planned to survive. The warehouse sat half-lit, surrounded by silent trucks and shadows that felt too still. We stayed in the car, watching the single door where Daniel had entered. Minutes stretched. Then we heard shouting. A sharp crack split the air, not loud enough to be a gunshot, but violent enough to freeze my blood. I'm going in, Lena said. Wait, I whispered, but she was already moving. Inside, chaos. Raised voices. Broken glass. A man yelling Daniel's name like it was a curse. I grabbed Lena's arm, pulling her behind a stack of crates, just as 2 men stormed past, arguing. That transfer is gone, one of them snapped. Accounts are frozen. Another cursed violently. Daniel's voice echoed from deeper inside. I told you, I'm done. We followed the sound. Daniel stood near a table littered with laptops and paperwork, hands raised, blood trickling from his temple. You think this ends clean? One of the men sneered. Then they saw us. Lena, Daniel breathed. What are you doing here? Ending this, she said. Before anyone could react, sirens wailed in the distance. Police. The men panicked. Someone bolted. Another tried to grab a laptop and dropped it. The leader glared at Daniel. You called them? Daniel shook his head. I didn't, he said. But someone smarter than me did. I thought of Emily. The sirens grew louder. The men scattered, disappearing into the shadows as squad cars screeched to a halt outside. Hours later, we sat under fluorescent lights at the station. Daniel gave his statement. Names. Accounts. Everything. He looked lighter. Broken but free. Emily's name came up. She'd tipped off federal investigators days earlier, trying to protect herself once she realized the group was collapsing. Betrayal stacked on betrayal. Weeks passed. The investigation continued. Daniel entered protective custody. His life, as he knew it, was over, but for the first time it was truly his. Lena and I found ourselves standing on the same Riverwalk bench where everything had quietly shifted weeks earlier. I never imagined it would end like this, she said. Neither did I replied. She looked at me, eyes clear now. Do you regret any of it? I thought of the rings still buried in my drawer. Of the lies. Of the fear. Then of her. No, I said. Because if betrayal hadn't started it, truth finished it. She smiled softly. So what happens now? I took her hand. Now, I said, we choose something real. The city moved around us, loud, alive, indifferent. But for the first time, I wasn't following anyone else's path. I was choosing my own. And I chose love, right where betrayal began.